They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Loan you that cottage promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Program to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed. Disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of own nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
So we eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful. Friends, welcome to your Tuesday night winning report. It's true, we're winning. Spoiler alert, we win. I don't know why. Like, there's some people who still don't know that. That's weird to me, but it's true. So we're going to look at all the things happening in the attempted technocratic global coup called the Great Reset. All of the agendas, all of the pieces, and we're going to see how we're winning, no matter how you look at it, no matter which way you cut it. Realistically, there's some things happening that aren't good. Realistically, there's some things happening that are fucking amazing. So I'm always excited to do the winning report with y'all. Just a little adjustment here. And I don't know about where you are, but I'm on like the southern side of the La Nina line that they're causing to happen with their HARP and their NextRad and whatever else they're doing this year, this season. So it's super mild, it's super warm. There's very little snow, very little precipitation at all. I hate it. I'm a snow person. I'm a cold person. I would much rather have the giant dumps of snow that our neighbors to the north are getting. Canada, New York just had their huge dump. And I know not everyone loves that and everybody actually really hates it normally, but I'm like, that's like my wonderland. So I'm not having, the best season I could. More snow would be ideal. That's okay. That's okay. We'll take what we can get. It was a heavy chem day though, like just crisscrossing the sky. And every time it's like that, which is really frequent, I'm always like, there's people who don't notice this? Like, how is that possible? How do you not just look up and go, what the fuck is this garbage? How do you look up and see all that crisscrossing and think, that's normal. That's totally normal. But there's so much going on that I wonder, how are people looking at this and thinking, this is totally normal? Or even if they don't think it's totally normal, they don't think it's like as disgusting and horrifying as it is. Must be nice. I don't know. Must be nice to live in that sort of ignorance is bliss state. I don't, though. I don't think it's bliss. I actually think they do know. And I think deep down they feel that things are so wrong and they're at a disadvantage in that case. You and I, we at least have the knowledge that like things are really fucked up and like really dark, but holy shit, is there a brightness behind all that, above all of that, within all of that. And that makes it easier. It makes it better. Actually, I'd rather live in reality, see the darkness for what it is, and then keep going on into the light. Go straight through the black pill into the white pill, the rainbow pill, the gold pill, whatever pill you're on. Third eye activated in the YouTube chat. Nice to see you. Lots of lines in the sky in Taos. Am I saying that right? Taos, New Mexico. Yeah, dude. Every once in a while, someone's like, they've stopped spraying. There's no spray. And I'm like, well, there's always going to be a day or two where there is none. Here and there seems to be a sort of ebb and flow. But so far, they've never really stopped. They've just taken a pause every once in a while. And isn't it nice? Isn't it nice when you get to see like bright blue, real sky? God, I love it. Love it. Nicholas Burnett in the Rockfin chat. I don't know what a means, but good evening to you. All right, let's jump into it, guys. Guys and gals. Ladies and gents. And we'll look at some things. As always, I want to invite you to rogueways.org because everything is there. And you may not know all of the things that are there, but there's so much. There are the books that I write. Yes, you can get them on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. You can also get them from me in hard copy, and I can sign them for you. You can also get them from me as an electronic download. Read it on your e-reader, especially if you're an international and you would like that method, or just because you like to do e-reading, then you can get those from me as well directly. If you click on Rogue, it's got the links to all the different platforms. You can find Rogue on video, on audio. Every podcast app has Rogue, Ways, podcast. You can also read the testimonials of all the people, not all the people, but a good amount of people who have received spiritual support and one on one work with me. You can see their testimonials and how their lives have changed by working with me. I'm very grateful to do that. If you want to book with me one on one, you can click on the spiritual support tab. I do tarot, I do I Ching readings, I do sound healing, I do guidance sessions, which are channeled messages and energies from your guides and allies. If you go into the shop, you can get tickets for the One Day of Brightness event. It is coming up. It is less than a month away. If you scroll down just here, you'll see the One Day of Brightness, the tickets you can buy here to this all-day event, Sunday, December 18th, in celebration of the winter solstice, a virtual online retreat via Zoom. You buy your ticket now. I sent the link out a few days before the event. You can come in. It is recorded for those people who need to step out or just can't make it to the whole entire time. Although you don't want to miss it, there's giveaways, there's all kinds of fun, there's really powerful energy that comes through, there's healing that comes through, there's messages that come through. And this time we get to learn from Joshua Lewis. He's a clairaudient, clairsentient, and conscious physical medium. He will also be teaching us to channel our own messages through in mediumship style. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to, but you can still come and learn and get messages. And if you trust yourself and you would like to, then you can also connect with those who have passed. And that is a powerful gift. I'm so excited we get to connect with Josh Lewis this solstice. We also have the great Marty Leeds, math magician, Gnostic teacher, and guide. Marty is such a badass too. We're so lucky we get these two amazing people. It's going to be such a fantastic day. I hope you all will join us. Get your winter solstice magic on, get that energy flowing. It just carries through the whole season until the spring equinox. So I cannot wait. And I always feel like I started One Day of Brightness in the winter for the winter solstice because of the 3 days of darkness. And it just felt like an especially dark time. I think this was in 2020 was our first one. And I just felt that we all needed something to brighten things up and to get us through and to remind us of who we are, where we are, what we are. And that is the energy of One Day of Brightness. So I love the winter solstice ones the most. Winter is my strongest time of year. And it is also this brightness we get to bring in exactly because it is so dark. We get to tap into that brightness even deeper. So especially if you need it, if this is a hard time of year for you, I think it's a great event. I will now shut up about it, but hopefully I will see you there. You can get Rogue Ways gear here in T Public shop. There's Rogue Ways and Middle Path logos. There's the My Boobs Are Down Here shirt. There's the Breathe In, Expand, and Breathe Out and Brighten shirt. There's the Sweet Eternal Balance of All That Is Good, True, and Beautiful Electric Chicken t-shirt. There's just the Rogue Ways Winning Dragon. There's Travel Well, Aim for Balance, and Always Look Inside First. There's Don't Go Deeper into the Metaverse. And all of these things you can get on bags, on shirts, on sweatshirts, on whatever you would like. Living in Fear Isn't Living. We even have the Brighter You shirt here. There's No Direction in Goatland. A lot of these are just inside sort of jokes and references from various episodes, and we like to put up more all the time. They're great Christmas presents to yourself and others as well. And finally, I always like to point out the Favorite Things tab here at the end. And you can get your AquaCure hydrogen therapy or anything else from George Wiseman to support your health. If you use the Rogue Ways code, you get a huge discount. You can click through from here to Phoenix Aurelius's lab, and you can get any of the beautiful stuff. I love the liposomal vitamin C and the spagyric vitamin C, as well as any other things he creates. They're all fantastic. You can search by symptoms you're having or by ailment you're dealing with, and you can get all kinds of things to support your health. If you click through from here specifically, this link gives me a little affiliate boost. So thank you for supporting the show by doing that. If you are going to buy yourself a Chi O IDF transmission jewelry piece, they're beautiful, they're powerful. If you click through here, I also get an affiliate boost. Same with any of these honey colony goods. These are through Miriam. She's done her research. She works with molecular uh molecular molecular scientists. I'm forgetting their title right now, but top of the line people to formulate these things. Their superior CBD really is superior. It's fantastic. They have all kinds of good stuff here. If you click through from here, you also support the show. Same with the Thrive on Freedom portal. If you're going to watch Thrive 1, Thrive 2, or join the Freedom portal, this link gives me a little affiliate boost. And of course, I just love shooting rainbows. They're magical, magical infused essential oil, body care, and goods. And also Holistic Emily. Both make fantastic products. I don't get affiliate boosts. I just love them. And I think they make good Christmas presents as well. One last thing I will show you back on the homepage is that I do teach courses, and I have them here on rogueways.thinkific.com. Lots of different courses you can take. There's even bundles if you want to take multiple classes together at once. There's a couple pages of classes. One of the classes is free, so you can come do any of these at your whim. I am going to be adding some other courses. I just you know how time is. It's been a bit much for me lately, so I'm getting back to it. Hopefully after the holiday here, I'll be able to add a few more classes. Now we will jump into it by getting into some dark garbage. There's always some dark garbage to get into. I do want to say what's up to X Cube 420. Sprayed forever. Welcome to the chat. Gordon Hamill in the house. Lindsay Smith is here. Logan Yates is here. Nicholas Burnett, Gold Pill all the way. Angie A, thank you so much for your tip. Thank you for your support. To all of you out there who find any of the ways we just talked about to support me and the show, support what you love so it can stick around. Much love, much love. Gotcha. Oh, okay, that's what ML is. Thank you, Nicholas Burnett. Nice to see you over here in the Rockfin chat. So social media has erupted after, I don't know how you say this, Balenciaga children's clothing ad features bondage. They have these little tiny toddlers, and for some reason they're holding bondage bear. Like, what the shitting crap? This reminded me of Celine Dion's clothing line that was all about like death and gross, nasty shit that was for babies for some reason and toddlers. Like, these people can't fucking help themselves. They just have to. They have to invert. They have to destroy the most innocent. You know, someone said that they do this. I don't remember what I was watching or listening to, but I mean, it's obvious and it's true. But that these Satanists or, you know, these dark energy vampires, dark magicians do this, especially to children because they are the closest to God and therefore it hurts God the most. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds right. It also is like, you're clearly garbage and broken and you're hurting that part of yourself as well. Xcube 420 with the tip. Thank you so much. Man, I feel like I should tip you. We're partners in crime here. If you don't check out holy shit, I just Day Zero on Sundays at 3 p.m., you are sorely missing out. Especially from Xcube's sex ed. We always get a nice dose of sex ed. That's very helpful. But that garbage belongs nowhere near these little beautiful angels. And I mean, look at the fucking picture. There's alcohol everywhere. Why is there just alcohol here with this child? There's black dragons in the background. I love dragons. There's good dragons. There's bad dragons. These are clearly not meant to be the good kind. There's bondage gear in this photo. It looks like maybe handcuffs and chains. And it's all mixed in with like cute little bunnies and other things. It's just fucking garbage. It's so disgusting. And they got called out. So they like canceled their Twitter or something. They pulled a bunch of shit down. But it's like, man, who was shopping here? Who was like, yeah, fucking pedophiles were. That's who. Fucking garbage people and pedophiles were. I get that, like, you could have a baby and you could, like, think it's cute to, like, put a skull on its shirt or, like, there's some I don't have, like, a problem with that, but that Celine Dion shit and this shit, it's like, no, there's something wrong with you. You're a pedophile. You're a pedophile. Maybe you don't know it. Maybe you call yourself a minor attracted person. But we all know what that means. And you belong in hell. You belong with your consciousness liberated from your body so that God can sort you out. So there's that garbage that's happening. I don't know if nothing else has seemed to happen except that they pulled down all their shit and shut down some of their social media because people were pointing out just how disgusting they are. So that's fucking gross. And on to further weird shit. NASA has ordered the press not to photograph the launch site after the moon mission takes off. What? I thought you wanted people to watch. Oh, God. Like, what the hell? So NASA barred the press from photographing the launch site of its space launch system after it boosted the agency's Artemis 1 moon mission into space earlier this week. Is it because they, like, strapped a bunch of babies to the boosting rockets or something? Was this part of their sacrifice to get it to work? How many times has this Artemis moon mission failed? I'm serious. Is this not like the 6th time this year they've tried to do this or something? And now they're saying that reporters can't take pictures of it. Multiple space reporters. Wouldn't you love to be called a space reporter? I'm a space reporter. Multiple space reporters said on Twitter that the agency had sent them a message telling them they were prohibited from photographing the Artemis 1 launch tower after liftoff. I don't know why you do this unless you want conspiracy theories and you want people to, like, try and break in and take pictures and you're trying to get, more weird press. It's like they want us to think space is fake. That's what I keep saying. All of this, it's weird. I admit there is, like, no real footage of space. They said that over and over again. All of these pictures are just compiled from data or whatever. There's all this green screen shit with the ISS and all of these things are super weird. But I get to the point where I'm like, well, are you trying to get us to come to that conclusion? Because you're, like, a bit too obvious about it. The moon lander is just tinfoil wrapped around lawn chairs. Like, shit is weird. And NASA did not provide a reason to these people. They just said, don't come, don't take pictures. So now sources are saying that, yes, Launch Complex 39B tower was damaged during the Artemis 1 launch on Wednesday morning. Basically, there were leaks and damage where there weren't supposed to be leaks and damage. So supposedly they're just trying to hide their own incompetence, and that's the only reason they didn't want these reporters. And maybe that's all there is to it. But it gets weird. I think it's real stupid to openly say, don't come here and don't take pictures. Like, it makes more sense to just let them and sort of, like, downplay. Hey, just like everything else you do. Like, you just lie and you just keep lying and then eventually it goes away. Dark white dragons is right. And then I do want to touch on, this Colorado Springs shooting. This is where I'm at. I'm in Colorado Springs. It doesn't give me any special insight into this. I don't know any of these people who are involved in this shooting at the Club Q, I think it's called. I didn't even know there was a Club Q. Not a club person anymore. So I may have been there in my 20s. I would go to gay clubs on purpose. It felt safer and more fun. People were generally having more fun there than other clubs I would go to. Like there was actual dancing happening and whatnot. So I had no problem with that. So I'd often go there on purpose, much to the chagrin of the lesbians. So I was not one at the time. And so, anyways, I wasn't there. Obviously, I don't go to clubs anymore. I don't drink or any of that stuff. And this club shooting happened. Apparently 5 people died and something like 12 or 13 more were hurt. And it does happen again to be a gay club. Nobody knows for sure that is part of the motive. They are now actually calling it a hate crime. So I think they've found motive. And a lot of people instantly are like, false flag, false flag, false flag. And I'm like, it really doesn't seem to have any of the markers unless I'm just not looking close enough or well enough. I don't know. This is on the 20th of November, 2 days ago. And, you know, what, like, for example, the people they interviewed afterwards on the local news, all of them were very normal about it. Like, they'd break down and crying. It was actual tears. You could see that they had that like shock thing where they were just like describing random sensory details, which is what you do when you go through trauma most of the time. Um, they were a little bit disconnected from it. And then when they would really feel like some of what they were saying, they would start crying, which it's very normal. That was a very more normal than usually when we see something that was like planned and orchestrated. We'll see the witnesses will seem very fine with everything. They'll even be smiling or laughing. And then we're told that that's like a normal grief response. It's not really, like, it can be, but it doesn't last for the entire interview usually, right? Like it would just be like a momentary reaction or whatever. And so it's very clear. And we watch those things and we're like, these people seem like actors and they seem like they're not actually someone who lived through trauma. This was very different. The people very clearly seem to have lived through trauma and were devastated by it. It was very sad to watch. Um, so that's different from most false flags we see. We also, the person, I don't know, the hair doesn't seem to be dyed a weird color. That's often, like, seriously, that's often something that happens. So far, they haven't said, like, I was hearing voices or I was being told to do this, which is often the voice to skull thing and, some grooming going on. So I don't know. I mean, it could have been, but it doesn't really seem to have many of the markers. Um, and it does seem like it could be because this person actually like hated, I shouldn't say hated LGBT people. This place, as many people are pointing out right now, this Club Q had just announced an hour before that they were going to have a brunch story hour time with drag queens and children the next day. So some people are speculating that perhaps this person was reacting to that and just like sick of this agenda. It's a very clear agenda to introduce children to sexualized situations via the trans and drag sort of community, and that they had had enough of that and they went insane and killed a bunch of people. It doesn't make sense. It's not rational to go killing a bunch of strangers because of some agenda that, these people may or may not even be for. Just because you're dancing at a club doesn't mean you're for a drag queen story hour. So it's really sad. It's really unfortunate. I don't really get the false flag markers. That does not mean they aren't using it, right? They love it. Like, they're like, fuck yeah, some crazy guy shot some gay people. This is like the best thing we could have asked for. Now we can go in harder on the anyone who says anything about LGBTQ or criticizes trans story hour is a hateful bigot. And we get to go into our let's ban guns shit, right? And that's why people are speculating it's false flag, because it's just too convenient. But sometimes convenient things just happen. And as they say, don't let a good crisis go to waste. So they're going to use it. But, it could be false flag, whatever. I'm just saying it could also just be a fucked up thing that happened that they're going to capitalize on. So it's very sad. My heart genuinely goes out to everybody who is involved in this. And it's hopefully people will get some sense. And instead of killing other people, they just kill themselves. That'd be neat. This is also something I wanted to draw attention to. I mentioned this on day 0, but there's this person, Mansour Adjaifi. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong as well. And he was in Guantanamo Bay, and it was a prisoner of war, of course. And Ron DeSantis showed up and smiled and laughed while watching his torture at Guantanamo. The human rights lawyer, Ron DeSantis, at the time, used his position to help maximize impact of torture on detainees. I haven't listened to this yet. I listened to this 5-minute snippet, and it's horrifying. But there's a whole interview. This is on the Eyes Left podcast, socialist anti-war military podcast hosted by veterans. I don't know anything about their show in general or their stance on things, but we are united in the least that we are against torture. And Ron DeSantis is someone people are really holding up as like this champion because he seemed to do well by holding back some of the worst of the tyrannical abuses during COVID lockdowns and whatnot in Florida. And so people are celebrating him. But I just like to point out none of these people are good. least of all him, torturer in chief. So really disturbing stuff. And I just want to draw attention to that in case you're one of the people out there who I fall into it sometimes too. I'm like, oh, maybe there's a good guy. Maybe there's a white hat and he's in there and he's going to like help people. And it's like, no, he's playing his role. He's doing what he's supposed to do for whatever reason. And he did his role well at that time too, and his role then was to go in, play the human rights lawyer, get the gain the trust of these, prisoners who had been being tortured, find out what torture hurt them the most, and then maximize that torture after they shared it. So really disturbing shit. That dude is evil. Everyone should know. And further weird news, Britain test fires its first high energy laser weapon this month. It successfully test fired Britain's first high powered long range laser directed energy weapon, LDU, called Dragonfire. More dragons. Maligned dragons. What the shit? Dragons? Come on. We need to reclaim dragon energy. But, anyways, they did this. And I just like this just to remind people that directed energy weapons are real. Long range directed energy weapons are real. They're saying this is the first time they've tested this and that first time it was successful. We know that's bullshit. This is just the first time they're admitting to the public that they have this and that they're testing it or whatever. There's never going to be a time where we see a technology actually for the first time. They will always have had it for some amount of time and been using it in various applications way before they tell us about it. So I like to at least have this on the record here, that various governments have these weapons, practice using these weapons, test these weapons, especially for the crowd that's like, they don't have that stuff. Yeah, they do. Yeah, and they have for a while. And to think that perhaps they might start forest fires and other things with it is not a stretch, as we have seen over many, many years. Those types of tactics being used against their own people. Why would it have stopped? We have documented evidence, so why would it have ever stopped? So here they are testing this weapon. Yes, welcome to Rex Colt and Israel Adams over in the YouTube chat. Israel says recently there's been hologram projectors on the ground at launches. Oh, maybe one of those was malfunctioning and that's why they couldn't have it being photographed. It was like glitching and making it obvious. All right. And in the Robocalypse's continued advancement on humankind, Amazon has unveiled warehouse robot to replace human pickers amid unionization threats. We see this story over and over again. Workers are like, we're going to do this and we demand this. And the place like McDonald's, for example, will be like, that's cool. We're going to put up kiosks for people to order so we don't even have humans taking orders anymore. And the rest of our kitchen's also going to be mechanized soon. So have fun without a job. And this is the one thing that I thought was somewhat intelligent about that guy. Oh, God. The Asian one who's running for president. Is it Yang? Andrew Yang, I want to say. He was like the only person who's ever addressed this seemingly inevitable takeover of robots for human jobs and the possible need, therefore, to have something like universal basic income. And as much as I am opposed to the government having any sort of centralized control like that people are dependent on, if we keep going this direction of mass consumerism and overproduction and needing to ship all this stuff and having places like Amazon and McDonald's and whatnot, we are going to have robots replace people and people will need some way to continue to survive. Then again, 120% increase in death rate, unprecedented times 10, like to a fucking insane rate. Maybe there won't be enough people left to care. Who knows? But definitely the rise of automation is an interesting problem for humans to face. And at the very least, it reminds us that maybe we want to buy less shit. And maybe we don't need so much stuff. And perhaps we would like to continue to grow our own food and do things that are real in the real world with one another instead of continuing to go down this path. But, here we are And in this time and place, Amazon is replacing people currently with these robots. Illuminati in the house. Nice to see you in the YouTube chat. Joel Smith over in the Rockfin chat. Yang is right. Thank you, X Cubed. The Asian one. I'm sure there's so many people who the more they listen to you, the more they're like, she's racist. But I'm like, why would it be racist to say that someone who's Asian is Asian? I've never understood that. Or that someone who's black is black, or that someone who's white is white. Like that just is true. Just a true statement. All right, this is interesting. I feel like we covered this, so I just have to cover it just in case. It's a year old, actually. So I don't know why it's back in the news, but it came across my radar, and I just had to mention it, especially given the robotics talk we were just having. In silico medicine is the first human trials of its AI designed drug for pulmonary fibrosis. So this to say it's AI designed is a little bit misleading. What they did is they gave like a whole host of possibilities to this AI, this machine self-taught machine learning AI. And they said, given what you know about this disease and what it needs, which of these is most likely to do the job with the least amount of side effects? And it picked one, and now they're in trials for it. So not really designed so much as just analyzed and selected. Like it went through the process that would have taken humans a lot longer, but it's AI assisted at least. And it's an interesting use of that technology. And I genuinely am like, there's things like this that I would say if I had any faith in pharmaceuticals, that this would be like a good use, quote unquote, of AI, right? Like a positive application. There's some problem humans have, and there's all of these, possible iterations, and the AI can go through it faster and better, and then yeah, that's cool, I guess. But you also know where I stand that pharmaceuticals essentially have absolutely no purpose in modern life, and that we have better ways to heal ourselves than using these drugs that all have side effects. They all came from something in nature that is actually helpful and free of side effects, and we turned it into something that harms us instead of just using the natural cure, because you can't make money off that. Gotta be able to make money. But it is interesting. Again, it's just like the robotics question. Like I see the very clear possible harm of AI and of robots. And I also see that if we're just going to keep doing it and going that way, then we better get serious about how we're using it, why we're using it, what we're going to do to keep ourselves safe and protected and happy and able to continue to live fruitfully alongside these technologies. So that's very interesting. And further dystopian crazy news. This is from this month. Lab grown blood is given to people in the world first clinical trial. Lab grown blood. Doesn't your body just like recoil from the thought? I mean, if you just said donated blood given to someone, I don't recoil from that. Maybe it's just, like patterning, like I've just been given that. I've just seen it over and over again, so I've just accepted it. Maybe, but seriously, something in my chest is like, ugh, like I want to barf when I say lab grown blood given to people. Nothing about that feels good. Just disgusting. So lab grown blood, ugh. Blood's been grown in laboratories and put into people in a world first clinical trial. Tiny amounts, equivalent to a couple spoonfuls, are being tested to see how it performs inside the body. The bulk of blood transfusions will always rely on people regularly rolling up their sleeves to donate, but the ultimate goal is to manufacture vital but ultra rare blood groups that are hard to get a hold of. These are necessary for people who depend on regular blood transfusions for conditions such as sickle cell anemia. If the blood is not a precise match, the body starts to reject it, the treatment fails, etc. So they want to do lab grown blood. So they have those really rare bloods on hand. So they start with a normal donation pint of blood. Magnetic beads are used to fish out flexible stem cells that are capable of becoming a red blood cell. These stem cells are encouraged to grow in large numbers. and are then guided to become red blood cells. Super weird. Super weird. They're like, we're going to fish out the very essence of this thing, and then we're going to control it and tell it what to do and then put it back into you. I don't know. There's nothing sort of like wrong or disgusting or horrible about it on the surface. I just don't like it. But maybe that's just me not liking change. I don't know. It just seems gross. I mean, to be quite honest, I kind of move more and more towards the side of things where I'm like, let's no one give blood. Let's no one give organs. And if you die, you just die. Like, let's stop trying to make everyone live forever. And let's just accept our lot. People are like, if you were there and you needed it, you'd wish. Like, no, I wouldn't. I don't want someone else's organ inside of me like that. Nope. I'm okay with death. Death is going to happen someday. And I've made my peace with that many, many times. So I'm cool with that. It's just this fear of death that we just like scramble to like, fuck, just fucking get these organs, get this blood, grow it in a lab, whatever you need to do. Keep a blood boy on hand. Get your fucking blood transfusions so you can stay young. Like, it's gross. It's gross. What's different about that and actual vampires? I don't know. So that's gross. So these are all the things that are weird, gross, and not really wins, just weird things. And finally, let's get into. I just mean finally before we get into some good stuff. There's some bad stuff too, but there was no way I could spin those things. They're just weird or weird, bizarre, and otherwise. But this FTX thing, I liked this thread on it. This is from Genco Capital, at Genco Stocks. I don't know anything about that person. I just like this thread. And he says, did Epstein's Island truly shut down or did it just move? There's a lot of weird shit that's slowly coming out in the fallout of FTX going bankrupt. FTX was founded in 2019 and somehow managed to quickly become the biggest name in crypto. That is really fast. Think about it. It's 2022. It's already like spanned the world, got its fingers in fucking everything and every government and crashed all within like 3 years. Definitely the timing of it, right as fucking Epstein was going down, this scheme comes up. So I like that sort of analysis that maybe this was just the transfer over of everything that Epstein was sort of holding and working around the world, and this little weird fucking gnome creature who was probably raped since he was like 3 years old came up to hold all those assets and run the new scam. You definitely don't just create a crypto and then just become like worldwide, right? So that this is some sort of operative. That it's like in with whatever Mossad, FBI, CIA, or what, all kinds of shit like that, or else it wouldn't have flown. Lots of rich people have to be up in there. So sponsored the MLB, Major League Baseball, I guess, and basketball arenas, SBF heavily lobbying members of Congress. His face is all over the place as the next Warren Buffett. Look at that horrible face. I'm serious. Like, I look at people's eyes and I'm like, people don't see that. They just see this creepy little smile and go, that person's great. You don't look in the eyes and go, what the shit kind of emptiness is that? What happened to you? Not good things. He goes on, next tweet say, how'd he elevate to such a position so quickly? Look at his parents. His dad is written about and made a career off of getting rid of the cash economy. Oh, that sounds familiar. That sounds like the agenda. And helping the government find tax evasion. Odd that his son is the biggest name in crypto and his mom is a major Democratic Party operative. So Barbara Fried, who honestly, I've seen pictures of her where I can't tell her apart from him and him from her, and they just, gross. It's gross. Look at his fucking eyes. All right. So Barbara Fried is a co-founder of the political fundraising organization Mind the Gap and Get Out the Vote organizations, including the Center for Voter Information. And her son, right after Biden announces his presidential campaign, launches the FTX crypto exchange. The exchange is an overnight success, enables Sam to become the second biggest donor to the Biden campaign. And his dad here, a leading scholar in the field of tax law, and the role of the tax structure in the Silicon Valley startups, how the government might control the use of tax shelters, and has testified before Congress and other legislative bodies on tax compliance problems posed by the cash economy. Social psychology might be used in the effort to reduce tax evasion. So he is just a big bootlicking government lackey. I don't know why him and his wife have the exact same eyes. Are they sister, brother? Who knows? These people are weird. Looks like the CEO of FTX and SBF's girlfriend, that's Sam Bankman, whatever his fucking name is, SBF, also has connections in high places. In my opinion, this whole thing seems like a weirdly arranged business sexual partnership with ulterior motives. He's been in connection with the CEO of Goldman Sachs, David Solomon, to get regulatory approval, etc. SBF was one of the largest donors to the Democratic candidate, second only to George Soros. That's how powerful this person suddenly was overnight. But really, genuinely, it's much more likely that they had been raping and mind controlling him from a young age. And they were like, he's perfect. No one knows who he is. So just throw him out there, pretend he's this tech tycoon kind of guy or whatever. And let's run this whole fucking operation through him. And he was like, yeah, I mean, whatever. I get to keep like raping kids, right? And they were like, yeah, of course. Yeah. Oops. No. SBF was one of the largest donors. Oh, yeah, we said that. SBF gave the second largest donation to Joe Biden's presidential campaign in 2020. 1 month after the war in Ukraine started, DC puppet Zelensky partnered with SBF for crypto donations. What a surprise. So in addition to all the money we knew our government was giving them, of ours, our money, to Zelensky for no reason, this also is going on. He's also getting like all this money funneled through this fake ass crypto thing. We've come to find out that Sam's minimalist, poor lifestyle was completely a front. I drive a Corolla, he said, but he lived in the Bahamas in a multi-million-dollar mansion with his closest circle of friends where they'd have drug-fueled orgies, apparently. 10 of the FTX employees' founders were involved romantically. Sam, Caroline, and Co. I'm not sure what's worse, losing our money or having to imagine that orgy. Seriously. I'm like, wow, these people find people who just like want to have sex, drug-fueled orgies. Like, that's amazing. But I guess if you're also mind controlled and raped since you're a child, like that sounds like fun to you. 2 weeks ago, a big name crypto developer who lived in Puerto Rico was sounding the alarm on the CIA and Mossad running a pedo elite cult in the Caribbean. Remember that? We covered that on this show. I brought it up, I think, or one of us did on day 0 as well. Super weird. That guy had been around for a while. He didn't seem like he wasn't as like fucked up and interconnected with all these major massive organizations and schemes. You know, it was just like an actual normal crypto thing going on. And he seemed to have gotten wind of this and sort of understood what was happening. He started telling people about it, and then he started getting targeted and attacked. And he was like, they're going to make it look like a suicide or just kill me, like a murder, like a robbery. And then he was dead, literally within like a day of saying so. I don't know why this isn't loading. So he had said CIA and Mossad and pedo elite are running some kind of sex trafficking, entrapment, blackmail ring out of Puerto Rico and the Caribbean islands. They're going to frame me with a laptop planted by my ex-girlfriend who is a spy. They will torture me to death. And that was Nikolai Mushigian, the MakerDAO co-founder. So we did talk about that on day 0 a little bit. And, you know, he seemed more legit than some, at least. I don't know. Doesn't mean he was like perfect. I have no idea what his story is. So this is how it kind of connects back to the Jeffrey Epstein thing, also having been running a massive international, you know, spy, pedo, elite cult out of that region. On to the next tweet now, where it gets even more interesting. Alameda Research, headed up by Ellison, mentioned earlier, and under the FTX brand, here's their logo, which is a pedo logo. Alameda Research. It's not quite there, but it's very similar to the triangle within triangle, which is one of many pedo symbols. The triangle especially, but as we learned in Pizzagate, it's kind of any shape embedded in its own shape. So it'll be like a hand within a hand, a heart within a heart, like all sorts of gross shit that they use. But it's similar to this triangle within a triangle. And Alameda Research does looks pretty similar. And then let's not forget Sam, they said, the man himself. And he had, again, that heart within a heart symbolism attached to him. He would wear it, etc. And that's the end of the thread. So it doesn't go really in depth. It just kind of points out the structure of the possible collusion. But there have people have gone hard and deep on this and have, pardon the very sexual sounding language. But they've, mapped this out, and it is really fucking deep. Like all these different governments, all these higher ups and everything. So yeah, it does seem like the exact same operation. It does seem like it just got funneled into this. I don't know how they keep getting away with the shit that's so fucking obvious. And that, again, just like I was saying earlier, like, I don't know how people look at this and just go like, yeah, it's just like a weird thing that happened. That's all. Nothing to see here. Moving on. Just every fucking government and every bank and every like powerful person and player in the fucking world all caught up in this money laundering scheme that also ties into Zelensky, Ukraine, and Biden again. Whatever. So this is garbage. Garbage, garbage, garbage. This guy's garbage. All the people connected with him are garbage. And it's so weird. They put him up there on some show and someone was pretending to grill him. Like, what were you thinking? Like losing all these people's money or whatever. I don't know. I didn't watch it. I just watched a short clip of his body language and he was seriously like twitching and like, I'm like, what are you scared of? Like, haven't you been mind controlled since you were a kid? Don't they give you some kind of fucking mind control sedative for this shit? I don't know. But we'll see what happens with it. And my guess is probably nothing. So in the further degradation of society, here comes programmable dollars. We've mentioned this many times. They've ramped up more and more and more. And we have 12 banking giants have already launched their digital dollar test. So because the market is crashing so hard, they're especially hoping to launch this. In place of it, I'm sure they're going to attach it to universal basic income at first. And then I'm sure they're going to start attaching it to removing your freedoms if you don't do what they want you to do. Or just not letting you have access to your money, or whatever else social credit-y sort of control they can get out of it. So Citigroup, HSBC Holdings, MasterCard, and Wells Fargo are among the financial companies participating in the experiment alongside the New York Fed, which will provide a public contribution to the body of knowledge on the application of new technology to the regulated financial system. You can just translate this perfectly to social credit system so that we can control you perfectly, right? Just like Sam Bankman-Fried's dad was concerned about, if you have cash, it's messy. People can get away with things. They cannot report it. They cannot pay taxes on it, but you can't do that with this. And that is the goal, to put all those things together. So it's especially important now more than ever that we trade, barter, use cash, and keep these other systems alive, because that one, if there as many mark of the beasts as we've seen, this is a big one. And in further government control of every possible angle they can get their grubby little hands on, DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, which used to not exist in my lifetime. Censorship agency had strange first mission, which was banning speech that casts doubt on the Red Mirage Blue Shift election events. So that was their mission officially, was to downplay anything that made it seem like the red tsunami was actually just a red mirage, or like the blue shift wouldn't be trustworthy. People who pointed out election inconsistencies. So this network of censorship throttled millions of posts ahead of the 2020 election, blocked emerging narratives from reaching virality thresholds. And censors boast on video of getting tech companies to ban entire categories of election speech under threat of huge regulatory pressure. And months before 2020 election, censors systematically targeted all speech categories that could challenge a future Red Mirage Blue Shift election scenario. I remember telling you guys at the time that my account just literally got banned for 30 days around the 2020 election, right before it, and of course for most of the time immediately following it. And they didn't even give me a reason why. And this was on Facebook. I hadn't really used Twitter very much at the time still, and neither was my Instagram like a very active place. So Facebook was kind of the main place I was at. And I had a lot more reach then that I do now, even though I had a lot less people technically following me then. And so I saw this in real time happen. And, you know, I'm one of millions of people they did this to, because we were targeted as people who were effective in some way or another, had some reach, and also would say things they didn't like. So they didn't need to give me a reason. They just did it. They just canceled me. And this, we knew. I don't know. This is one of the many things where I'm like, okay, I guess like more people know now. I guess we have more evidence now. And that's good. That's a win. I don't know if the people who never believed us in the first place are even hearing about it, as always. But we can now point to, you know, the fact. It's a fact that this is happening. It's a fact that our government used corporate entities to suppress our speech, and that is both illegal and immoral, as well as it is literally fascism. It's literally actual fascism. So, you know, if anyone cares that you know, you can share this with them. That's kind of getting to be old news now, and already it's going to fall off and into the memory hole, I guess. This is another unfortunate thing happening with our elections. In LA, Los Angeles, the Soros DA, as we know, many of these district attorneys were funded by Soros to get into place so that they would let people get away with crimes. And this Soros DA in LA gets the charges dropped against election software CEO. On November 9th, they dismissed charges against the CEO of an election software firm whose prosecutors had accused of being behind probably the largest data breach in United States history. And we covered this back when it happened, and now we see that nothing will happen to this person. Not surprising at all. But what's really disheartening about this is it's yet another tie to the People's Republic of China, another aspect that shows just how deeply this hostile foreign government has infiltrated our nation, because they found that information was stored on servers in the People's Republic of China for a reason. You can be fucking sure that the Chinese government has just as many files on all of us as our own government does. My file in China is who knows how big. Yours may be as well. And so there's that. But nothing's going to happen to the people who have. Is that not treason? Right? They've like worked with a foreign government against their own people and government. They should be hanged, and instead they're just like, yeah, no, it's fine. You know, things happen. Not a big deal. So again, something you could point to. You could, anybody who's still willing to listen out there in the world, you could be like, hey, don't you think it's weird? There's this breach. It has to do with China. This DA that Soros funded to get elected, like, just drops the charges for some funny reason. Like, isn't that weird? Isn't that corrupt? Maybe they'll listen. It is more and more transparent. I just think it's harder and harder to find people who still have their eyes and fucking ears open. Like, it's insane. It's crazy. They literally cannot handle it. Also, in good news about elections, perhaps, you know, depending on how you take all this shit, at least on like the sort of surface level, this is a good sign that Arizona's Attorney General Elections Integrity Unit has demanded a response from Maricopa County over election delays and failures. It's actually gone past Maricopa County now. There's many places that are refusing to or unable to certify the results, and there's lots of different investigations happening. So unlike the last election where it seemed like no one was doing anything about it, at least this is a pretty quick response, and maybe something will happen. And there's a lot of people who have said, you know, maybe this is so public and so obvious on purpose because they want people to find this lack of integrity in the elections, and at the very least, like, be even more hopeless about their ability to reclaim their nation. Um, maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure. Some people, of course, the Q people, seem to believe that this is being done also on purpose, but instead of for that reason, to degrade people's belief, there it's being done so that they can then therefore show that there was the same problems in the presidential election and then overturn that, and then Trump will be president. And I'm not gonna lie, I would fucking love it. I would laugh my ass off. I would love watching people melt down and just lose their shit. Like, it would be amazing. But I don't think that that's going to happen. I think it's much more likely that Biden either dies or is in some way um, taken out of the picture, and Kamala becomes president for the remaining 2 years of the term, and then also for the next two election cycles, therefore being our horrible demon in command for 10 horrifying years. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, anyways, it's good they're at least showing someone cares that they weren't in lawful compliance with election law, and maybe something will happen. We can always hope. At the very least, again, it's being shown, it's a little bit more transparent, that some people might be able to look at it and go, huh, it's really weird that we don't know still and that there were so many problems. Also, possibly a good thing. The House committee advances a bill to have trackable mail in ballots. So you can't just do a Pennsylvania on people and just send out thousands and thousands of extra ballots and just not know for sure like where they went or what's going on with them. Um, this would require that there's a postal service barcode on the envelope that's unique to the individual ballot. You know, every fucking package that goes through has this, so why couldn't they do it with this? Yeah, it's a very simple technology. It's a pretty good idea, and therefore it's probably not going to happen. We'll see though. Maybe it will. It'd be very good. It'd be really good, and it'd be interesting to see how they then try to steal every election, because it'd be a lot harder. It'd be a lot harder. So we'll see. It's not a bad thing. We can hope. Taking back elections would be one way to sort of move back towards some semblance of actual, goodness. But China really has infiltrated. They've taken over a lot of farmland, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of electric, telecommunications, that kind of infrastructure, as well as our elections and our election machines. Very interestingly, and this is a cool article. This is on Zero Hedge, and it says eerie similarities between the Democratic Party and Chinese Communist Party lingo. You might even replace lingo with just tactics, because they're absolutely right. And many people have pointed this out. It's just a nice little rundown of the similarities, though, so you can start to see where things are headed. I love that they have this picture here of all these Democrats, and this was in the BLM, I believe, when they were like being asked to like pledge themselves to like non-racism or something. And so all these people have their like arms up together in solidarity. And right below that, they show, the Cultural Revolution and a march where people are doing the exact same thing, which is holding their arm up. And it's not quite the Hitler salute, but it's pretty similar. Um, so this idea of democracy is one that both push, both the Chinese Communist Party and the Democratic Party. We don't live in a democracy. Obviously, we don't want to live in a democracy. I don't remember what show I was on. I think it was Robert Phoenix's show this last Friday. We were talking about democracy, and I said, look, if you think you like democracy, just go into a room with two rapists alone, and then you'll see if you like democracy or not. Democracy literally is just mob rule, and it's the majority rules, and that sounds kind of nice to people, and until they really understand what mob rule looks like and what majority rule looks like. And instead, we have a constitutional republic, and it's meant to specifically counteract the possibility of any one branch, including the branch of the people, overpowering those that might be weak or have less protection. So democracy is one way to dismantle that, actually. Democracy is not something that we want, but we say it all the time. We hear it all the time. And so people are like unquestioningly, democracy is good. We live in a democracy and we don't even think about it. And we should think about it more. This is one of the tactics used to intentionally degrade things and move them towards more centralized power. So that's an interesting similarity. Also, the political purges in the Cultural Revolution, there was lots of encouragement to purge those who did not go along, those who did not comply. You would, if at the very least, you would imprison them, you might beat them publicly, you might torture them publicly, you might kill them. And these purges were happening with regular people. Regular people were doing it to each other, to their neighbors. They were encouraged to. They were celebrated for it. And we didn't quite get there yet, but fuck, we came close in COVID. Like holy shit. And this article actually goes through some other aspects of political purging, right? Especially this like focus on how the right is evil and Republicans are evil and the alt right and like all this fucking demonization of what is actually a very normal political party. That's very CCP, very Chinese Communist Party, very cultural revolutionary. But we also saw how people very nearly, turned on their neighbors. Like we all saw that, like, oh, if you don't get a vaccine, I hope you fucking die, and like you should be chained up, and like Jesus Christ, like these people were serious. We stopped just shy of them actually like coming out and lynching us all. So very close corollaries here. But they also both have their view of the future, which is very totalitarian, very centralized control, very much trapping you in that technocratic, inescapable sort of trap. And so that's another thing they have in common. I'd say another thing they have in common is they are basically the same thing. If you actually look at like who has the strongest ties and who it is that's letting China have even more power, they tend to be on the democratic side of things. I'm not saying that all Republicans are good or safe or anything. There's a lot of rats on both sides. But so far, right now, currently, the Democratic Party is the Chinese favorite, the darling. So it is good the more we can see this sort of thing and call it out for what it is. We don't actually have to other people, point out to them that is like the Chinese Communist Party. Remember, people are programmed to not criticize China because it's racist somehow to criticize a country and a government. Even though that doesn't make any sense. That's where people are at right now because they're crazy. But it might help to point out, like, isn't it weird that we like keep pretending we're a democracy and when we're not? Or here's the problems with democracy. And like, what about this mob rule thing? Or what about demonizing normal people because you don't agree with them? Like, those things are good to call attention to with as many people as you can to keep them from going down that road and possibly lynching you someday. Extremely dangerous to our democracy, Illuminati says. That we hear that all the time, right? Like, what democracy? Your democracy? Because you definitely believe in your own mob rule, it seems like. And just again, China and the deep state seem to have joined forces in this techno authoritarianism. All of our models seem based off of China first rolling them out. I don't know if you saw that video of the Chinese cab where you couldn't even get into the cab. The door handle to the cab wouldn't even pop out of the little Tesla handle unless you first scanned in your COVID fucking app or whatever saying that you were like clear of COVID, and then it would unlock and let you in. It's just one more way of showing like you could program that for anything. Like, oh, are you up on your whatever? Have you not done hate speech or whatever else? Like scan in and let's make sure you're a good person before you get in the cab. And then you get in the cab and it's just no one. It's just a driverless car, and now you're in hell. Driving through hell because you've let yourself become part of a fucking totalitarian hellscape. Like, what the shit? It's fucking great. China is the most terrifying fucking hellhole of a bullshit place. So, we share with them all of these things now. I think we used to be able to look at China and go like, oh, that's very un-American. We're not like that. But now we're openly censoring. We have open government corporate collusion to censor this fascist state, which is very Chinese. We have intense surveillance every corner, every place, everywhere. They don't even hide it. thermal scanners, everything, facial recognition, everything everywhere. Surveillance everywhere. We have social media credit scores. It's not as open, I guess. Like, we don't actually have the apps on our phone that tell us what our scores are yet, but we all see them very clearly being used against us online. We are moving towards these safe, smart cities where literally everything is controlled from a centralized um, power, and that you are allowed or not allowed based on your scores. We're moving towards digital currency. China's already implemented it even more than us. This digital authoritarianism, every single aspect of our lives may be controlled in this way. AI run surveillance. This is actually one of my hopes now. It used to be my nightmare. Now I'm like, God, I just hope the AI becomes good. I hope that it sees and it has a little bit more fucking rational thought than these humans have, and that perhaps it will like come out on our side. Like, this is one of my hopes now. The secret police, police brutality, intimidation tactics, disappearance, brainwashing, and torture, all of these things, and we've had them for a long time. We've had them since at least 9/11, if not before. And it's just becoming more obvious. It's less hidden now, and they're more likely to use it against regular people, and they're normalizing that. And we saw that through COVID. And that was one of the many, many, many purposes of COVID. So we're just moving more towards this. And the only good news about that is that we can see it. And again, if there's anyone left to listen, we can show them. We can see it real clear now, um, that our government is basically China and is owned by China. But perhaps again, China's many, many ways that they're working against us. One of them is our southern border and moving who knows what across this border. I did just see a disturbing video. Could be fake. I have no idea. I don't know anything about it except it seemed to show thermal imaging via drone of what seemed to be an army marching across the southern border. And if that were real, and if it is real, I would guess it's China. That's just the obvious choice here. At the very least, though, they move massive amounts of fentanyl in, and they're degrading our culture unintentionally in many, many ways, including the LGBTQ plus agenda. But Greg Abbott, again, probably a piece of shit, maybe also tortured people in Guantanamo. I don't fucking know. But for now, in this one instance here, maybe he's doing something good. I invoked, he says, the invasion clauses of the US and Texas constitutions to fully authorize Texas to take unprecedented measures to defend our state against an invasion. I'm using that constitutional authority and other authorization and executive orders to keep our state and country safe. He's deploying the National Guard to safeguard our border, repel and turn back immigrants, deploying the Texas Department of Public Safety to arrest and return the border immigrants who crossed illegally, build a border wall in multiple counties, deploy gunboats to secure the border, designate Mexican drug cartels a foreign terrorist organization, enter into a compact with other states to secure the border, enter into agreements with foreign powers to enhance border security. I'm guessing that just means Mexico is going to help. And provide resources for border counties to increase their efforts to respond to the border invasion. So it's a big move, actually, and it makes me wonder if he'll feel suicide-y soon, or if they'll just be like, hey, look, we're going to torture all your kids and shit if you don't stop. I don't know what they do, but we'll see how far he makes it. If this is, real, and if he is actually trying to do something good, I would support a more secure border for sure. So I like that. That seems like a win for now. Well, who knows? We'll see. But it would be good, especially because for some reason we're more and more just bleeding ourselves dry and killing all of our people for foreign interests, like we were just talking about, including apparently foreign-owned farms that have been siphoning water from underground aquifers to grow water-thirsty crops like alfalfa, which ultimately end up overseas in order to feed cattle and other foreign livestock. So why? We're in drought. We supposedly don't have enough water, but we let foreign countries come, buy a bunch of area, grow shit, and then ship it away from here. Just use our water and our food. It's fucking crazy. It's crazy. And yeah, especially if we move into famine. Maybe this is one of the many farms we can go take over and we can eat alfalfa. This is actually a Middle Eastern UAE-based company Aldara that's been tapping into our underground reservoir in the southwest of the nation. Not China, but not that different either. So not good at all. Good that we know about it. Good that perhaps some people are going to try to change the laws so that it's not as easy for foreign countries to come in and just steal our resources. I guess I won't say steal. I mean, they probably like bought that land above board and whatever, but like, why are we allowing that? Especially in this region that doesn't have a lot of water. It's so crazy. It's so fucking crazy. I just don't. China wouldn't fucking do that. Like, what the shit? Most countries would be like, nah, ours. Like, you can go fuck yourself. But anyways, further evils of China. China's placed 13 million people living in Guangzhou under stay-at-home orders as supposedly COVID cases rise. We mentioned this on day 0 as well, and it was aptly pointed out, like, haven't they been keeping people under? Like, yes, all we actually hear is them keeping more and more people in various states of confinement and quarantine, alleged quarantine, and all their little camps that have supposedly popped up and all of this. And I don't know, man. I think if I lived in China, I would just kill myself. I don't understand the point. Genuinely. Very confusing. But I guess not everyone can just kill themselves. So, that's not really an answer. I get it, but I can't imagine. Can't imagine just being like, no, you just stay home for a month. You're like, what? So I'm gonna starve slowly? Like, or they just were all those videos where they're just coming and like dragging people away. This is why you don't let your guns go away, guys. This is why you keep your guns. One of the many reasons you keep your guns. This is interesting because it adds more evidence to the obvious truth that EMF of every kind is actually damaging to human cells, except in the normal range of light we would experience in nature, right? And the normal sort of amounts of radiation that come out of the earth and the sort of background radiation like that can be harmful to biological life if we're like spending too much time in it or there's extra strong dosages because of various flare-ups and things. But in general, all of our artificial EMF fields, all of them, including radio, cause things like cancer. So this is new research. Soldiers exposed to radar and other RF, which is radio frequency, radiation during military service have higher incidence of cancer. So we've just accepted that, like, especially radio is safe, right? Especially just electric, through our house and the radiation that gives off, especially that is safe, right? Otherwise, why would we have it? But there's actually nothing but a history of a body of evidence that shows that this has always been damaging to life. There's just some people who don't notice it as much. It doesn't mean you're not dying. You're just not as sensitive to your death as other people are. So there's always the people who are like the canaries in the coal mine and they can feel it and they can tell and they die faster and whatever, but that means it's happening to all of us. So I enjoy this. I count this as a win, not because I'm glad that people are getting cancer, but because I am glad that people are noticing that even radar, even radio frequency increases your risk of cancer. It's all harmful to biological life. Because if we can accept that, then we will start doing things like shielding ourselves, not using smart meters, turning off our Wi-Fi at least at night, perhaps not using Wi-Fi at all, burning down every 5G tower. I mean, I would never do that, but allegedly, some people could possibly do that someday. And such things. So again, Invisible Rainbow, if you've never read it, totally worth your read. More and more evidence comes out all the time that all of these are biologically damaging, and it is a win for us the more we notice that perhaps someday we will live in a world that cares and that protects us. We protect ourselves. Also good news, another win. Fordham University threatened with a lawsuit over COVID-19 booster mandate. I don't know what Fordham University is, but I'm glad someone's suing the shit out of them. Every single university, every single business, every single private enterprise that tried to force people to have this toxic and experimental injection should be sued. It was illegal then. It's illegal now. They're still doing it. But the more we sue, and we've seen wins already, we've seen people awarded their suits that they've brought against these people. And so we can only continue to win the more we do this. So I hope more and more people bring more and more suits against these motherfuckers. I hope they are all sued out of existence. It would actually be awesome. What the fuck is higher education doing for us? Nothing. Illuminati gets it. Super soak 'em. You know what to do. Lots of people in the YouTube chat I haven't said hello to. Hello to you. Kyle M, PK, YouTube Dennis. I like your name. And whoever else I haven't yet said hello to. I'm just laughing at some hijinks in the Rockfin chat. So unfortunately, however, not all with COVID is a win. We're still not out of the woods, very obviously. So this is from Peter Sweden. He's an awesome researcher and actual journalist. He's on Substack. You can go to petersweden.substack.com. It's spelled exactly how it sounds, Peter Sweden. And he says something weird is happening with newborn deaths and miscarriages. We need to talk about something very worrying that is happening. This year has been very strange. He says we're seeing higher excess mortality rate this year than during the pandemic years. So remember this. We were just talking about this, Johnny and I, today, that people are being guided to by various leaders around the world, alleged leaders, to believe that the huge, massive increase in deaths, 123% by some accounts, including Peter Sweden's account here in this article. 123%. 10% would be fucking insane. Now multiply that by 12. That many percents higher in deaths. We're being led to and asked to believe that this is COVID, that people have died. This is COVID. We just have to remember one thing, and that is that we did not see this during the COVID years. We didn't see it in 2020. We didn't see it in 2021. We saw it in 2022. And there's only one difference between 2020, 2021, and 2022, and that's an experimental injection. So while the people around you continue to stop thinking and just keep bleeding the fucking responses of the officials around them, just if you're able to point this out in a way that they might be able to hear you, just remind them of that. Why didn't we see a massive increase in death? We did not. The death rate in 2020 and 2021 was exactly on average. There were no extra deaths. So no matter how deadly you think COVID was, it didn't change anything in the world. And then after that, we've seen unprecedented, truly unprecedented, beyond unprecedented, unbelievable numbers of deaths. And we're not done yet. So he says at the same time, meanwhile, the birth rates have fallen off a cliff. As you will know from previous articles, this is not happening in just one country. It's happening all over the world all at the same time. There has to be some kind of common factor because it's not normal. And he did find out in previous investigation articles that there was a particular health problem that seems to be driving the increase in excess deaths, and it's not COVID. But now we're seeing something very worrisome where babies are suddenly dying at much higher rates than normal. The Scottish government launched an investigation as neonatal deaths under 4 weeks old has seen a dramatic spike of 123%. Again, it doesn't even make sense. There's no possible explanation for this, except perhaps that those experimental injections kill babies, which we know they do. We saw that from the beginning. We saw it from the fucking beginning. And I've been reporting on this for the whole fucking time. It's so fucking sad, but now it's just becoming more and more obvious. So again, they're going to blame it on COVID. It won't make sense, and we'll just do our best to point out the truth that is so fucking obvious, and that what they're saying literally isn't even possible. It's not even possible that we would not have seen this in 2020 and 2021, but we would see it in 2022 unless it is not COVID. All right. So the only win is that in that is just how fucking obvious it is that it is the other thing and not the thing. So that maybe we can help people see it. Although it's a bit late. It's a bit late in the game for them. They've already taken perhaps 5 of these things. Or more. So, in further COVID shenanigans, NBC News has advised parents to keep kids away from unvaccinated individuals. Just like, fuck you. They give nothing but evidence that nothing but admitting at the highest levels from the CDC and the WHO themselves that this thing doesn't even fucking work. That it has side effects that are deadly and it doesn't work, doesn't stop transmission, doesn't keep you from getting it, doesn't work. But you should keep your kids away from people who aren't vaccinated. Just for compliance reasons, just to prove your brainwashing, just to keep your kids in constant fear like a fucking psychopath would do. You fucking psychopaths. Like, how transparent does it have to be? That is the only good thing about this, is how fucking obvious it is. And still, these motherfuckers are like, man, they said it. Oh, don't come near my kids. Fuck, I won't come near your kids. Your poor fucking kids are lost. Your poor fucking kids, you've ruined them. And in further horror, it's now being referred to as turbo cancer. Remember how we talked about many times now that cancer rates have, again, gone up by sometimes, some people are saying 400%. That's just fucking insane. But now we have reports that it's not just more cancer, it's really, really fast cancer, turbo cancer. Dr. Charles Hoff notes that stage 4 has gone from being a rare initial diagnosis to the norm post-experimental injection. The tumors he's reporting are bigger, they're spreading more aggressively, and they're more resistant to treatment. So this is just one doctor I've seen saying this. However, as you remember, I've reported many times on many doctors saying that there's huge increases, many hundreds of percent increases, and that they seem to be different. Well, now we're just getting a little bit more clarity on what's different about them. And again, like we said, it'll be harder for people who don't already see through most of this. It'll be harder for them to understand when everyone just suddenly is dying of cancer. That, you know, it'll be hard for them to understand because in their minds, vaccines couldn't possibly cause damage anyway. Definitely they couldn't cause cancer. So, you know, we'll have people dying of the heart conditions, of the cancer, of autoimmune, of all sorts of different things. And it'll be confusing for people to tie it all together. But we have traced the thread all the way through. And if they can start to listen or see, perhaps they can understand. Again, perhaps a little too late. But there are ways to heal ourselves even from this bio weapon. And that is true. So we can also help people heal by detoxing. I will always be a fan of detoxing heavy metals first. Your body will heal itself from fucking anything if it doesn't have that garbage in the way. Aquacure detoxamin, power combo, eating super heavy alkaline diet, 80% or more, staying in the sun, staying exercising. These are just good ways to heal yourself of anything. Allegedly, I'm sure I'm supposed to say, and like go to a doctor or whatever bullshit I have to say to like not be put in jail or something. Go to the people who kill more than anyone. They'll definitely help you. Doctors are the best. In further globalist, technocratic, psychopathic attempted takeover of our world, the G20 summit here's calls for global digital health passports just in time for the next pandemic. I've been sharing this and talking about this as well on Day Zero and other places. And they're just totally out in the open. They were before. They're not hiding it. But the new part now is that they're saying, like, you know, this is definitely going to happen again. So you will definitely need these digital certificates, these digital passports. We'll just, you know, in order to allow people to continue to move about in freedom. You're like, so 1984 to call that freedom, right? To say that we're going to give people their freedom by giving them these passports, not mentioning the whole time that you first took the freedom away for no fucking reason at all, for a fucking cold or whatever. And it makes me wonder what the next bioweapon will be. Like, who knows? And I used to think, you know, maybe all the people who got this experimental injection will be the ones who are safe from that next release. I don't think so. I don't think they give a shit. I think they're just like, yeah, die, scum. We just need less of you here. We need less of you, and we need you all to have this, I'm sure, implantable global digital health passport. All your credentials implanted in you. So simple, so easy. Now you can travel. Now you can get on your cattle flight and be shoved into a tiny seat full of fart air for 8 hours while you get flown somewhere. These fucking evil shitheads. Hey, one of my favorite people in the world, the Night Stalker, is in the YouTube chat. What's up, Night Stalker? My friend. And it did, of course, also the G20. Klaus Schwab, his evil, just fucking, again, like, you can't just look at this person and be like, oh, this is like every evil fucking villain I've ever been shown. Here he is. But a good old Klausy, the unelected global fucking technocratic tyrant, absolute ruler, he says we'll have to restructure the current world order a little bit, guys. Gotta restructure it a little bit. Just gotta take out, that pesky old US and their freedoms. And just make sure that we've got our full fucking fascism like in place. And they have to. They have to do it via fascism. They have to have the corporate private governance, or else it doesn't work, because people won't listen otherwise. But if you won't let people have the things people want, then people are a little bit more likely to really, we saw it in action. Oh, you can't come shop here unless you've got your mask. You can cover up your fucking, take your shit paper and smear it on your face and stop yourself from breathing, or else you can't have your, I don't know, Zumba classes or whatever. People are like, oh, okay. You have to do it that way. If you just had the government being like, do it, people would be like, no, we're going to revolt. People aren't going to revolt against corporations. We tried that. We tried that and we got destroyed. I'm not saying we can't. I'm saying people will really, really need to finally understand the line here, that it's a spiritual thing, that it's a principles thing, that it really is about rights, and that they're not, that they are literally inalienable, and that you have to hold them and stand for them and keep them, because these evil fucks will constantly come for them otherwise. And if people don't understand that and they're too lazy, then they'll let it go, and that'll be their choice. So it gets easier and easier to see what they're doing. Their global structure, they're just wide out in the open for it. It just gets apparently harder and harder to help anyone see it. But there's always some hope, and there's always people doing good things, and a lot of them are actually working, and it always makes me so amazed. I'm so impressed by people, by humanity's light and their ability to keep going. Doctors fight back against the law that punishes them for diverging from contemporary scientific consensus. And this is in California, is that right? Yeah, Sacramento. They've sponsored Senator Richard Pan, a Democrat of Sacramento, has sponsored a slew of mandatory vaccine laws throughout his career, and came out in 2019 to threaten the speech of those who question forced vaccination. Throughout the pandemic, Pan has been staunchly opposed to free speech and advocated for silencing anyone and everyone who doesn't worship the altar of Big Pharma and the science. So with the passage of Assembly Bill 2098 in August, this tyrannical state senator has finally gotten his way. And even doctors who question the safety of a product from a company with a known history of criminal behavior will be punished by the state for doing so. It's set to go into effect on January 1st, and doctors who disseminate information that diverges from contemporary scientific consensus will face persecution. But now some of them are fighting back. Group of doctors has filed a lawsuit against Governor Gavin Newsom's tyrannical administration, asking the court to block the law from taking effect. The group accurately points out the chilling effect his law has on the right to free speech. The complaint argues that the new law impedes their ability to communicate with their patients in the course of treatment. And rightly so. It was insane. They were like, everyone has to take this. I'm like, no, there's plenty of people who very clearly shouldn't take anything, like me. I can't even be bit by a bug without nearly dying. But you want me to inject some random fucking concoction into my body? You can go fuck yourself and die. No, I should not do that. Many people shouldn't do it, even if you are just fucking so in love with it and just believed that it was good and everything in it is proven to be amazing and safe. Still, there would be people who shouldn't take it. It's obvious. It's an obvious conclusion. And yet they want people to not even be able to talk about with their doctor any other option but what the state says they have to do, what the corporate pharmaceutical companies say they should do. It's fucking insane, but California's insane. It's just awesome. There's people left who are still fighting back against this, and I'm so happy for them, proud of them. Need more people like that. It's good stuff. And this is awesome stuff. This is from Stephanie Seneff, Greg Nye, Anthony Kiriakopoulos, and Peter McCullough. And this is a scientific paper presented in Food Chemical Toxicology in June of 2022. It's innate immune suppression by SARS-CoV-2 mRNA vaccinations, the role of the G quadruplexes, exosomes, and microRNAs. And they go through this paper to prove that these injections have immunosuppressant aspects. Everyone has AIDS is another way of looking at this. I just, but only slightly, because it's basically the same thing. So profound disturbances, they say, in regulatory control of protein synthesis and cancer surveillance. These disturbances potentially have a causal link to neurodegenerative disease, myocarditis, immune thrombocytopenia, Bell's palsy, liver disease, impaired adaptive immunity, impaired DNA damage response, and tumorigenesis. They also have evidence to support this from the VAERS database and more. And what's awesome about this is that they got it published at all. We've seen the very chilling effect. We've seen journals, even really good ones like Elsevier and the Lancet that you used to be able to trust beyond all others, have just turned. They've got huge compromise. I don't know what exactly has happened, but they've taken articles out, journal studies out that were perfectly good, and they've been publishing absolute bullshit ones. It's very much unlike them. We've just seen this in the past few years in support of the agenda. It's been very disturbing, because you would have hoped that science could stay science, which is objective. But no, it's been taken over with this fascist movement as well. But they got this published somehow. It's a little journal. It's not a big one, but they did it. And because they couldn't force them to retract it, because they couldn't find any, to get something retracted, usually you have to be able to say, like, here's a conflict of interest, or here's where they did the study wrong, or here's where they made this mistake, then let's retract it. They couldn't do that. So instead, they just fired the head of this journal. They just use bully tactics. But I think that's a win when you can show just how far they'll go to try to suppress it. When they can't suppress it, they're like little fucking toddlers and they move into bully mode. So that makes their irrationality obvious, and you can point it out to people more easily. And that's a good thing. But you also now have a published journal article that shows just how dangerous and awful this injection is for your immune system, which is everything. It's your fucking immune system. Why would you fuck with it? So that's a win. That's a win. I guess this is a win. I don't know. This fucking guy, I guess we still call him a doctor, but satanic fucking abuser of children, animals, and all of humanity, Dr. Anthony Fauci, has left the, government position he was assigned to at the beginning of this entire fraud. So there's this sappy, stupid, goodbye from him, allegedly by Joe Biden, who I doubt could even write anything near this coherent on the White House page. But he's gone, and he is now famously, as his last message to everyone, said that go get your booster. Go fucking die, you piece of shit. Good Christ. I'm so glad I won't have to fucking look at his stupid fucking face anymore. His tiny little gnome body and his stupid fucking bullshit just flowing out of his satanic mouth. I'm so fucking grateful. But also, it's like, you deserve horror. You deserve to be tortured to death. You deserve what you did to those fucking beagles. You deserve to be dropped in a pit of fucking fleas or whatever they were, and they eat your fucking skin off. You horrifying piece of shit. But instead, he'll just calmly walk away and tell everyone to get boosted again. But I guess it's a win that he's gone. Oh, Jesus Christ. He'll just crop up somewhere else in some fucking pharmaceutical company. Another win. A former head coach files a lawsuit after being fired for religious objections to COVID-19 vaccine. Thank God. I don't know. Every church should be fucking suing. Like everybody should be suing. But former Washington State University, a big football college in Washington, football head coach Nick Rolovich filed a lawsuit on November 11th against the university and the director of athletics, Patrick Chun, after he was fired for not receiving the COVID-19 vaccine, seeking damages due to loss of past and future income, as well as legal fees totaling $25 million. And I hope he wins every dollar and more. Good for him. Hopefully we'll hear back that he won that, and more people will follow suit. And in a not quite win, dangerous, just acceleration. Like, I feel like we just got 5G and now they're like 6G, 7G. Come on, let's get even more microwave lengths to attack every cell in your body and your DNA itself. Just got to wipe out humans from this fucking rock for some reason. The FCC provides conditional approval for testing 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi despite dangerous interference issues and public safety risks. Again, the evidence just mounts and mounts, like we saw earlier with those military studies with radio frequencies and radar. More and more evidence all the time of how harmful these things are for humans, for all biological life, in fact. And the corrupt FCC is just like, yeah, like, just go for it, whatever. Put it on a fucking elementary school or whatever you need to do. Just give us our money. So, anyway, I don't know why they need more. I don't know why we need more. I don't know about you either, but as soon as 5G went up, like, my phone doesn't even work. It's like it used to work way better in like 2009. But now all of a sudden we have more and more G's, but we just like don't actually have shit that works. So more dangerous health consequences coming, but not better service. No, we don't get anything out of it, actually. And here we've got 400 private jets arriving to Egypt for the COP27. What is that? Climate something 27. I don't remember what it stands for. 400 private jets. This is last month, right? No, it was this month, but it was not. It was a couple weeks ago, at least, I think, that this happened. But 400 private jets. And of course, therefore, some people are like, go fuck yourself. So again, I kind of love it when they show their hands. They're like, you can't drive. You need to turn your heat down. You can't like cool your house in the summer. Like you need to turn your fridge off or whatever. Like you need to just basically stop living. But us, oh, we'll just fly around in private jets. You know, we don't need to carpool even at the jet level. You need to carpool. You need to get on the public bus. They just show themselves more and more transparent as fuck, just how little they actually give a shit. All they really care about is controlling you. They still get to do everything they want. They're going to keep eating meat. They're going to keep flying around in private jets. They're never going to be affected by rolling power outages or any of this shit. Nope, just you. That's just for the peasants. You feel bad about surviving and living at all, and we'll just live in luxury and whatever. And these same disgusting fucking weirdos, this time at the G7, we've got G20, G7, B20, COP27. It's all just the same motherfuckers trying to control the world various ways. But these fucking weirdos and the Federal Foreign Office has this cross removed in Munster, a 482-year-old council cross in the Peace Hall of the historic town of Munster for the duration of the G7 summit has now been removed. Why remove a cross? I'm always pointing this out. Again, I don't care what anyone believes in. It doesn't matter. But I will always point out how fucking weird it is that these people have a specific problem with Christianity, a specific problem with Jesus, and no other religious religion or religious icon or religious being or energy or anything. None of the other ones are bad, but that one, they will always fuck with. They will always have a problem with. They will always invert. It's fucking weird. So they clearly believe something about this. And here's just yet one more example. They have this fucking cross removed from this hall they're using to meet within. Why? Why wouldn't you just leave it? It's kind of like the NASA saying you can't come take pictures here. You're like, well, are you just trying to get people to think that you're pulling some shit? Are you trying to get people to think you're satanic? Because that's how you get people to think you're satanic, is by removing crosses when you're around. What are you, a fucking vampire? You can't be, or you can't look at it. Your eyes are going to start bleeding. Like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? So they were like, oh, like we also had furniture moved in. You're like, well, that's not weird though. Like, that's normal that you would like to have a place to sit. However, it's very weird that you would remove a cross. And again, you can't even be like, oh, well, why should we have to be around a cross? You're just trying to force your religion on us. No, if you went to fucking some Middle Eastern country or whatever, like you maybe go to a mosque or whatever, and you wouldn't be like, tear down the mosque. You know, like, why do you have to remove the cross? So yeah, that's weird stuff. It's always Jesus. It's always Christianity. Never anything else. Never anything else that they attack or decry. Very interesting stuff. So I don't know, maybe it's a win. Maybe we know now when they come after us, all we have to do is like hold up a cross and they'll be like, I love it. Lindsay Smith says, everyone loves Jesus. They're jealous. And Illuminati says, even when I was agnostic, it was clear that Jesus was cool as fuck. It's true, dude. I'm like, what? A revolutionary motherfucker who might whip some fucking bankers and teach you how to use the system against the Roman soldiers to get them killed. That's a motherfucker I like. That guy's cool as shit. Maybe that's why they hate him as well. Could be lots of reasons, but all of them are quite interesting and point us perhaps in a direction we'd like to continue to go down. This is also a huge win. Lawmakers and environmental advocates object to proposed weekly release of thousands of genetically engineered mosquitoes. This is from earlier this month. Fucking Bill Gates and his bullshit. Always gotta fuck with shit. They've been releasing tons of GM, genetically modified mosquitoes for years and years. Years and years and years. And I've been pointing out how fucking ridiculous that is for years and years and years and years and years and years. So it feels a little bit like a loss to me, because it's been so many years that I've been like, hey, does anyone else think it's weird that they think they need to release genetically engineered mosquitoes? I mean, kind of weird. People are like, oh, that's probably for the best. Probably not. They've actually shown that in places like Africa, when they release a bunch of genetically modified mosquitoes, there's suddenly huge upticks in things like dengue fever, which you get from mosquitoes. So I'm like, I don't know. I mean, we've seen these eugenicists use their alleged vaccines to kill off massive amounts of people in Africa and in India. So why not also use mosquitoes to do it? They've talked about how mosquitoes are just like vaccines and can be used as vaccines. And I think vaccine to them just means like death. It's just a death mechanism. So why not? But California and Florida, EPA has approved the release of billions of genetically modified mosquitoes. Maybe you hit from both coasts and then it travels through and everybody gets sick. I don't know. But luckily, in a win, some people have noticed that there's too many unknown factors. Like, yeah, you think? You fucking idiots. Like, why the fuck would you think you could fuck with the entire food chain at this level? They just want to be God, don't they? They're just horrifying. So luckily, someone's fighting back against that. That is a great sign. That is a huge win. Also, another huge win. Federal lawsuits are filed to protect endangered whales from offshore wind farms. Yes, wind farms are not just horrifying on land, they're horrifying off land as well. And despite all the warnings, despite all the problems, despite the heavy resources taken to create these things, to get them out there, to even try to harness any energy from them at all, massive amounts of resource from other energy sources they supposedly consider dirty, they still keep going forward with this. The Biden administration made plans for more floating offshore wind turbines and formed federal state offshore wind partnerships with 11 states. But a lot of these will be delayed due to costs and other obstacles, and people are fighting back to protect the whales. Thank God. I mean, these fucking people say they're environmentalists, but like they act like they're not. But again, I guess if you're like brainwashed and you can't even question climate change, then you think that you're saving the whole world. And so what's a few whales or a few birds? You know, I guess if you're that stupid and you can't see how many resources you're wasting in order to do this thing that doesn't even pay off. It doesn't even create more energy than it took to create the thing. They're so ridiculous. So I'm glad some people are fighting back. I'm glad this might be permanently destroyed as a project because of the whales. Thank God. Protect the whales. I love the whales. Got to save the whales. Also in good news with the alternative energy front, one of England's largest solar farms goes bust after borrowing £655 million. Believe it or not, another solar energy company has gone bust. It's so funny because we have this thing like, oh, the sun, it's eternal, infinite energy, and we can just harness it. And it's a really nice story. Nature does it perfectly, but we can't do it perfectly. Like, it'd be easier to just, I don't know, let nature do it and then use the things that nature creates. But again, we're real slow on the uptake, I guess, as a race. So 53 farms across the UK will be shut down because they can't produce more electricity than it took to create them. They can't produce more energy than it took resources to create them and sustain them. It's not actually sustainable. What a surprise. What a surprise. It seems all of these methods are not sustainable. Perhaps we should find things that actually are sustainable, which we actually do have, but aren't using yet. But the win is coming. The win is coming, and it's starting with us realizing none of these things work. We should stop putting resources into them. Because in the meantime, the national grid cancels their warning over electricity supply shortage that could have hit tonight. This was literally tonight, November 22nd. Over in the UK, they were like, oh, we could have it. Oh, never mind, we're not going to. But they're just getting you used to it, right? They're just getting people used to it, that it is going to happen. This is how they do it. They go, oh, this is gonna, oh no, it's okay, it's okay. Oh wait, it's gonna happen again. Oh no, it's okay. And then by the time it happens, you're like very prepared. You've been prepared mentally and emotionally for this power outages that are coming. And do they have to come? No. This is an orchestrated energy shortage for literally no reason at all, just political and economic, just trying to restructure the world like Klaus Schwab told them to. That is the only thing actually going on here. Despite all of that, the win is that we're still moving towards fusion energy. That would be the best possible outcome. In the meantime, nuclear energy is the best choice we have. And nuclear is hot fission, right? But this is fusion, cold fusion. It's actually zero emissions. It's actually sustainable. It's actually affordable. And we are capable of doing it. Even Chevron and Google are interested. Even Bloomberg Intelligence is interested. And they are even projecting that eventually it's a $40 trillion industry. Here's this infographic. The most promising technology. It's been the most promising technology forever. It's kind of like the infinite energy machines. I always forget what to actually call them. In that people don't believe it can be done, but we've actually shown it can be over and over and over again. It's one of the many things that is often suppressed intentionally because you can't control a world that has free, cheap, safe energy. I don't know if it'll be free, but it's very, very cheap, at least. Once you get it going, the initial input is all it ever takes, practically. We have all the materials we need. It's reliable. It's sustainable. It's the same technology that powers the stars. And it's safe. It's scalable. It's clean. It's all these things. And again, we have proof of concept. We've had proof of concept for a long, long time. We just need to do it. So it says more than 130 countries have now set or are considering a target of reducing emissions. Oh, I was hoping they'd say have a commitment to fusion energy, but no. But I guess it's just a good reminder. Fusion is definitely the way to go. And maybe there's even better methods than this, right? But I'm always seeing humans move further and further towards these things. More and more people. Remember that cop that got killed not that long ago in one of these false flags? And he had been working on a water-powered engine. And I just keep seeing, yeah, they keep taking them out. Sure. But there's also more and more of them. More and more people are doing this like as a hobby, like as a, you know, just in their fucking basements and garages and whatnot. And you can't stop it, honestly. And this is, again, I talk about this book a lot, but there's a book came out, I think in like 2008 is when I read this. And it's called What Technology Wants. And it's actually one of the most hopeful views. There's some shit in there that, some warnings and some things, but it's one of the most hopeful views that technology itself is almost like an evolutionary given, right? That you're going to develop technology. You're going to continue to develop more and more accessible technologies that are more clean and scalable and ever present and able to be used by more and more people. And once you create them, they never go away. So that's one of my greatest hopes, is that technology continues to get what it wants in that way, and that it can't be just controlled forever by these fucking psychopaths who would like to control the whole world. That you actually can't stop us. Humanity's brightness is going to explode no matter what you try. So suck it. And this made me happy. On the climate front, on the alternative energies front, we've got all these people going insane and climate rebellion or whatever, Extinction Rebellion, and all of these people who are like throwing tomato soup at paintings and stuff and gluing themselves to various places, annoyingly getting in everyone's way. Well, Germany's opposition party is calling for at least 3 months in prison for climate activists who block roads or attack cultural assets. And I think that'd be real nice. I know. I like people to be able to protest. I just don't think people should be able to glue themselves to things where people are, enjoying cultural relics together and history and culture and things like that. Stuff didn't do anything to you. Rembrandt didn't do anything to you. And I don't know. I understand the point of blocking the roads if you really believe that that's what's killing the planet. And again, I have a love for protest in my heart, and I want people to be able to have their speech and to have it be protected. But you can do it in ways that still draw attention to your cause and don't just fuck everyone. And also don't make you look like a just whiny piece of shit who has no grasp on reality. So I thought it was funny. Maybe it would stop some of these people from doing some of these pathetic things. But unfortunately, the FBI has announced an enhanced firearm background check for young adults. It sounds like good to people, and these things always do. They're like, oh, it's just for 18 to 20-year-olds, and it's just going to make them wait a few more days before they get a gun. But again, I don't know why anyone thinks it's okay to add more and more and more prohibitions and roadblocks and things to stop people from exercising their right to have and own a firearm. And in fact, as we've talked about many times, I think I did a whole episode on it. In fact, the real thing that would stop people from misusing guns is if they knew for sure that almost everyone was carrying a gun. And if people knew how to use and carry guns, effectively and in a positive way, knew how to be safe about it, people wouldn't fuck around because they'd fucking find out, and they'd know that they would find out. So we're going the wrong direction. This direction throughout history has shown over and over again leads to more murders, more problems. But I guess here we are doing this again. And, this local shooting that happened in my city is being used to fuel that agenda even more. And if you want to keep most of the things we've talked about tonight from happening, you don't give up your guns. It's like the one thing you really, really need to make sure you have. But luckily, there's places that again continue to fight back against the gun grabbing maniacs in power. And Iowa voters amend their state constitution to support the right to keep and bear arms. The state constitutions are really powerful, and they're a really good way to fight back against the federalization and the centralization of these tyrannical tactics. So I love this. I love the example of it. I love that all of us could do this in our respective states. Um, and to especially protect those rights that are being targeted, like the Second Amendment, like our freedom of speech and freedom of journalism, and more. So that's a good thing. Good job, Iowa. It's a huge win as well. This is also a really cool win. This is the Brazilians, amidst allegations of voting irregularities, have been protesting in the millions in over 300 locations nationwide. Of course, the media is not sharing this. You may have not seen or heard anything about it, but look at this. Just tons of people. This is just one of the over 300 locations, millions of people turning out for this. This is the type of protest I love to see. This is a popular protest, unlike the Extinction Rebellion people who just go in pairs and make fools of themselves. And this might actually have some effect, and it would be so awesome if we don't, if they don't get away with stealing Brazil. It'd be amazing. I'm so glad this many people are aware. Again, you can't really stop humans, especially once they see. So many of the things that we talk about are hope more and more of. Another huge win, a class action lawsuit filed against the state health department for secretly installing Google COVID tracing app on phones. It was so weird during this whole thing to get pop-ups of like, your local health department has a COVID app if you want it. And I'm like, you can fucking die. Like, I know what I can do. I don't need you to fucking tell me. Keep your shitty fucking crap off of my phone. I'm sure you're tracking me anyway, you stupid pieces of shit. I'm not going to help you do it. Like, what the fuck? So people found, yeah, they were doing it. These tracing apps were installed on phones against people's wills without people's knowledge. And so there's a class action lawsuit against them. 40 states' attorney generals have taken place in this, using location history against people and using it to track them during this tyrannical takeover of the past few years. And that's awesome. I'm glad 40 different states, like that's fantastic to hear. I would not have expected that. Genuinely, I thought we were past that, like far past that point. But 40 different states attorney generals is very heartening. I know that it's very possible that nothing comes of it. It's just hopeful that there's that many people who care, who found out, who think it's fucking not right, who are trying to do something about it. That's beautiful to me. So huge win. Congratulations to all of us. Unfortunately, not as good. It is good that there's a coalition appealing this, but there's a ruling that allows the Department of Agriculture to confuse and mislead Americans with GMO food labels. We've been seeing this. I don't even know how many years this is now that we've been seeing them trying to hide what's genetically modified. And they keep making these rules, and it's just like how they allow them to change the names of like known cancer causing agents. They're like, oh, we won't call it, asbestos anymore. We'll just call it flavoring. And you're like, how is that fucking, fair? Like, it's not. That's the whole point, is they want you to eat poison and die. So people have been on the lookout for this for the GMO foods. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has been appealed by some nonprofits to label more clearly what's bioengineered and genetically modified. So that's good. We hope they win. That is a win. It's not a win that they're so far trying to be so confusing about it. It is a win that someone's doing something about it. We can be so grateful for those people. This is when activism is good. It's when it protects us from the big guys. And also very unexpected win, very cool. AP, the Associated Press, fires a reporter who risked triggering World War III with the Polish missile misinformation. So we've talked about this on day zero and some other places about that really obvious false flag Polish missile thing that was trying to drag NATO into World War III with Russia, but it actually was a Ukrainian missile. The whole fucking internet figured it out within like hours. It was impossible for them to hide where it actually came from. It was awesome. That was a huge win in itself that people were just like, nah, that's not what happened. Here's what actually happened. Awesome that they weren't able to get away with it. But a lot of the news sources, alleged news sources, were like, it's fucking World War III and like Russia's attacked Poland and really could have possibly started World War III. Just so fucking brazen, just so irresponsible and evil. But you didn't expect them to do anything about it. They don't even make retractions anymore. They just fucking lie and just like keep going. Don't even care. Not only did they do something about it. They fired this guy, James Laporta. I'm sure he'll go on to some other Mockingbird embedded's place and like do some more evil, but it's pretty cool that he got fired. I like that. One of the two reporters, at least. Um, so that's great news. Congratulations. We do have some semblance of, I guess, some kind of journalistic integrity, even though it really seems like we don't. We do. And that makes me happy. And that is the winning report. There's a lot of wins, actually. Like a lot of good things are happening. Lots of times when a lot of good things are happening, that's when they release like the next assault. I hate to be that, but yeah, I went through the black pilling. I understand. I understand their methods. I'm not going to pretend I don't. But I just keep seeing all of these things where really truly like humans are creating the technologies that are going to be helpful and they're going to continue to come out more and more. Humans are using what they do have left to try to reclaim some semblance of our power and our rights back from this completely tyrannical takeover. It's a global, organized, intentional takeover, obviously so. But we're using like local pathways and whatever we can to try to keep some semblance of this. And good friend Steve over at Slow News Day years ago, we were kind of debating the whether or not it matters if you use things like VPNs and sort of cover your tracks on the internet and just trying to be as private as possible, use proton mail and these types of things. And I was just kind of like, I was kind of being the black pilled asshole, right? And I was like, it doesn't fucking matter. They know anyways. They're gonna track you anyways. It's not like you're hiding anything actually. Like you're not gonna win. Like just fucking be out in the open with it then, right? Like what do you have to hide? Not what do you have to hide, but just like what do you think you're gonna pull over on them, right? And his whole point was like, yeah, but you can slow them down at least. You can at least not go along, right? And I was like, that's very fair. Like that, and that's why you want to go through the black pill and beyond to the to the white pill, to the rainbow pill, to the gold pill, or to wherever else you end up, but don't stay in the black pill because he's absolutely right. And all of these examples are similar, right? You're like, oh, well, you can have these court cases and maybe you'll win some things, but overall the machine is rolling forward. But yeah, you stuck a fucking stick in the spokes, right? You slowed them down. Where people are like, oh, protesting doesn't matter. Well, it matters to those like 500 billion or however many fucking people were protesting in Brazil, right? It matters to them that they're out there and they're seeing all of their countrymen and going like, oh yeah, we were not beaten. These motherfuckers can lie and cheat and steal all they want, but we know the truth at the very least. If we can't force them to, give it back to us, at least we know that we're not alone. These are the reasons why we keep going. These are the reasons we keep doing this. This is what is actually unstoppable about us. And this is why, even in the face of things that feel like completely insurmountable, right? Like if they do roll out this CBDCs and they're getting everyone to inject it, and you look around and just as many people who took this fucking experimental medication are like also injecting this fucking chip in them for this like, global passport and wallet and whatever. You still make a difference. You still gum up the system by going, nah, I'm not doing that. You can go fuck yourself. Just calmly, happily walk away from it. Yeah, that's the energy. That's the win. That's what we're doing here. We're winning. We're not going to stop winning. We're just going to keep on rolling through the wins. And we're going to protect as many innocent people along the way as we can. And we're going to keep our hearts and our souls intact. And that is what's beautiful and good and true about us. I love it. I love winning Report Tuesdays. I will definitely see you back here next Tuesday. But before then, I don't know if I'm going to do a Thursday night. It is Thanksgiving, but I'll do a Friday night at least. We'll do Middle Path then if we don't do it on Thursday. And I'll see you guys on Sunday. I forget who's with us, but someone awesome. Someone awesome is going to come hang out with us on Sunday. So I'll see you for that show as well. And then on day 0 at 3 p.m. Mountain every Sunday, we will be back with hilarious, awesome energy. Charlie Robinson, X Cube 420, and Corey Hughes, myself. Always keeping it real, always a good time. So until then, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first.
Houston, the Eagle come in. Eagle come in. Eagle, we seem to be having a problem.
Yo, sugar-coated honey smacks, candy painted Cadillacs, pulling out my battle axe, attacking, hacking up your back. You should probably know I don't give a fuck. I'm like Suge and I'll run your ass over with my truck. Who's the sickest fiend on the mic you've ever seen? Spitting lyrics, spirit of keeping competition green. With the envy, it don't matter what they send me. I'ma spit a fucking verse that ain't competition friendly. I'm deadly, poison, filling up your bloodstream. There's really nothing better than hearing all these thugs scream. Helter skelter, better hit the shelter. Get down on your knees and thank God that you felt the bass rushing over like a deep space nova.
Yeah. Nano Technicolor, son of a hominoid, mega infused, cardiovascular prime with diesel, full throttle, mic abuse, the weapon of choice, amp the depth in my voice, wake who's up to my noise, they never seen such nice boys, it's like he merged with the mother box, change up these nutters knots, mother of the motherfuckers blocks with my SIVA block, it don't stop, cause I ain't riding the thinker, I'm in it for the pleasure of the hook, line, and sinker, Dr. Manhattan Project, obliterate the physical, fucking with atoms and chemicals, teetering on mystical, break the fucking sick and roll, ensuring that the spit ain't dough, flood the stream with minerals, change the flow of water, don't mind his mind, he must be off the blotter, outside the cube of Saturn, the situation just got odder, the situation just got odder.